It is Tuesday, March 10th. Your drive begins now on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. I'm your host, Paul Swann. Our text line this hour brought to you by Clark's Pump and Shop. 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. We're going to open up that text line for you in just a few minutes. We've got comments today from Marshall defensive coordinator Brad Lambert. Also, we're going to hear from offensive coordinator Rod Smith and special teams coordinator Jackson White. We've got all three of them, so we'll get their thoughts. This week's media availability earlier today, so we've got their comments. And, of course, we're going to hear from you as we are gearing up now for March Madness. It looks like it's going to be without the Thundering Herd, so we'll figure that out, where we go from here as far as basketball season is concerned. Probably one of those where after Selection Sunday, NIT is going to make its selections. And, of course, I'm sure there will be some teams already that will be preloaded. And then we'll see what happens for the Thundering Herd. So a little bit of hope there for Marshall. I'm not banking too much on it, but again, I will hold out hope with the rest of you as far as any opportunity that might come Marshall's way. But I'm going to just go out on a limb and say slim chances there. We've also got to get into this today, and I'll try my best to kind of decipher everything that's going on, because Marshall University released a statement. And there's a video attached with the statement, and we might play a little bit of that here in a bit. It's a pre-produced video. It's a joint statement from Brad Smith and Gerald Harrison. It's a produced video which was attached to the Marshall University release, which is titled Marshall University Issues Statement Regarding Legal Action. So let me walk this back just a moment. There is a Title IX lawsuit which has now been filed against Marshall University. And by my count, there are 15 members. Bailey and Glasser are representing 15 members of the women's swimming and diving team. And it's been filed in the U.S. District Court for the Southern District of West Virginia. It's Dodd versus Marshall University. Now, according to the release regarding the upcoming suit, the release from the law firm said, as set forth in the complaint, the plaintiffs allege Marshall has violated Title IX by discriminating against women concerning athletic participation opportunities. An independent audit of Marshall's Title IX compliance situation done in October 2025 found that Marshall shortchanged women by 210, 250, and 160 participation opportunities in the most recent 3 academic years. Other publicly available information, the release continues to read, confirms similar gaps going back even further. Against these substantial and long-standing participation gaps, Marshall chose to eliminate the women's swimming and diving team, which will make the participation gap even wider. Now, the plaintiff in this, and there are many people attached, but this is going to be Dodd versus Marshall University. Allison Dodd, junior at Marshall, she said in her statement in the release, "We were so surprised and so devastated when Marshall told us less than a week before our conference championship that it was planning to cut our team. We literally had a 2-minute meeting with the athletic director, and that was that. We're heartbroken but ready to defend our rights. Marshall just has to do better by its women student athletes." And there's also been some support for a bill, SB 502. It's the Women's Collegiate Sports Protection Act, which seeks to, quote, protect and support, end quote, women's collegiate Olympic sports like swimming and diving. And this was an interesting quote from this statement, this release Freshman Madison Bowen said that, quote, "We would love if this bill passes, and we could eventually use it to support the team financially long term. But we also know it's up to Marshall to do the right thing, even if it costs them money." So that's an interesting quote there. Let me read that again. This is Madison Bowen. She says, "We would love if this bill passes and we could eventually use it to support the team financially long term. But we also know it's up to Marshall to do the right thing, even if it costs them money." So this is the lawsuit that is coming out. And so Marshall responds to this. The statement reads, "Marshall University acknowledges the recent temporary restraining order request and requests for a temporary injunction filed in U.S. District Court in regard to the discontinuation of the university's women's swimming and diving program. The university is providing the following information to address the matter publicly. The university takes all legal matters seriously and is committed to engaging in the judicial process in a transparent and respectful manner. Because this matter involves pending litigation, Marshall will not comment on the specifics of the filing other than to reiterate the university's previously disclosed position. Marshall reaffirms that the decision to discontinue the program is in the best interest of the institution as a whole. President Brad D. Smith said that while the decision was difficult, the rationale remains sound and unchanged. Quote, "This decision was driven by three structural considerations: expanded participation opportunities under Title IX, long-term financial sustainability, and the facility and infrastructure requirements necessary to support the program," Smith said. "Our goal is to support our women swimming and diving student athletes through this transition and prepare for a new era of expanded opportunities for women athletes at Marshall." Marshall University Vice President and Director of Athletics Gerald J. Harrison echoed Smith's comments. The release continues. "Our months-long financial review of athletic programs at Marshall showed that the swimming and diving program, while successful in the classroom and in the pool, was not sustainable at the level necessary to compete for Division I championships," Harrison said. "This was not an easy decision, but we believe it remains the best option at this time. Our priority remains the well-being of our student athletes and the trust of the entire Marshall community." Regarding the legal action, the statement continues to say, "Marshall is reviewing the claims and will respond through the appropriate legal channels." Marshall has a long-standing tradition of fostering a respectful and supportive environment, and the university remains steadfast in its commitment to providing an exceptional education and serving the community with transparency and care. And of course, there are some links that have been provided. There is a joint statement that has been attached. We've got that, and I think we've read that before. Here's what no, this is new. This is new. Let me reread this. And I'm just going to paraphrase here. It's basically it's a letter to the Marshall community, knowing that that the community cares about swimming and diving. It talks about the lawsuit being filed. And it's a little bit almost the same as the statement I just read. I'll read this part. "We are at this point because of the structural realities of maintaining a facility to NCAA Division I standards and the responsibility of stewarding the university's resources and obligations. These include expanding participation opportunities in support of our Title IX commitments, ensuring the university's long-term financial sustainability, the responsible allocation of available resources for the maximum benefit of our entire student community, facility and infrastructure realities required to sponsor programs at the level our student athletes deserve and our affiliations require." So that was a little bit of the joint statement that came out. And of course, there's also a FAQ that was released. There's a video as well. And we might play a little bit of that, but I think it's going to just basically reiterate some of the things that we just talked about in this statement. But at the end of the day, we're possibly going to see now a Title IX lawsuit against the Thundering Herd. And it's been filed. We'll see how far it goes. If this is going to restore swimming and diving to Marshall University. How is this going to be paid for? That's going to be the big question for me. I can ask some of these questions. How will Marshall University fund this? If Marshall can't fund this now, how will Marshall University fund this in the future? What will have to be reallocated to do this? What will be the stipulations if this injunction is successful and the swimming and diving program is forced to remain? The university is forced to continue to sponsor swimming and diving. And will this have an impact in other avenues? Will Marshall University maybe not have the ability to kind of trim the athletic department as it sees fit? I'm kind of curious everything that's going to happen here. And of course, I'm throwing some stuff out here. I'm spitballing for some of this. But at the same time, the whole idea was, at least it was presented to me. If you haven't heard it, you can go back on our podcast, and it's the most recent episode with Gerald Harrison. And I think he did a fantastic job of at least laying out his case for that. And I'm going to be quite candid with you. When I was talking to him a few minutes before we went on the air, he was not of a jovial nature. He was not speaking to me all excited. I mean, he wasn't happy that he had to do it. And I'm not trying to defend him. He can do that all by himself. He doesn't need me to stand up for him. But I will outline that I don't think he came to this decision haphazardly. I don't feel like he decided, you know what, I don't like swimming and diving. I'm just going to cut that here. We're going to put that money elsewhere. No, I think there was some thought put out into this. And of course, the student athletes that are impacted by this, they're definitely devastated by this decision. And I completely get it. And I understand. And I'm not really here to take sides or to pit one group of fans against another. But I do want to hear your thoughts on this. 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. We've got audio today to hear from Brad Lambert, Marshall's defensive coordinator. We remember Brad. Rod Smith as well, Marshall's OC, and special teams coordinator Jackson White will get their thoughts. We're going to get your texts as well. What do you think about this lawsuit about Title IX compliance? How devastating is this going to be for the Thundering Herd, or is this something that Marshall can weather? Lay out the plan. We're cutting it because we can't afford it, but we're going to replace the opportunities. Is it about the opportunities that Marshall's trying to fill in? Here are more opportunities. These are things that we can provide you. Or is it specific? Is it specific that, okay, you must offer swim and dive. That has to be an opportunity that you must offer. I'm interested to see how all this plays out. And again, I am not a lawyer. I am not privy to all the behind the scenes details of what's going on in Marshall's inner circle right now, or of course, what's going on with this lawsuit and what the plan of attack is going to be and how far this would go if it's not basically decided quickly. Like, yes, we're going to give you this injunction. We're going to argue this, or no, we don't find enough cause to do this. If this goes quickly, then it's over. If it doesn't go quickly, it's going to probably drag out a little bit. I'm definitely interested in how this plays out. And of course, I'm curious about I know the student athletes. I know they have run to different people to maybe make the case. And I get that. Hey, we want to get our case out there. We want to talk to people. And I think the university has done a better job at least putting the case out there, other than, we're hurt. And I get that. And I think they've acknowledged that the hurt is there, and it's very hard to make this decision. But right now, I think, just going on my conversations, I think the university has made a case for why it went this direction. We'll see if the student athletes and the counsel for this lawsuit can make the case why that Marshall University is in the wrong. We'll talk to you when we continue on this edition of The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
Get the last roof you'll ever need with steel roofing from Menards. Steel roofing provides your home with the best protection from wind, hail, and fire. Choose from 29 stylish colors to enhance your home's appearance. Available in cut-to-length panels that cover a large area for a fast installation. Shop our selection of roofing products today. Plus, check out our weekly flyer on menards.com for all the great deals happening this week.
Save big money at Menards.
Looking for midweek fun? Head to Frank's Place, where every night's a party. Wednesdays are full of brains and brews with trivia night. Grab your crew and show off what you know. Thursdays, crank it up with Singo Bingo. Music meets bingo for prizes and laughs. Then Fridays, we hand you the mic for karaoke night. Sing your heart out and start your weekend right. The fun never stops at Frank's Place. Great drinks, great friends, and good times. Frank's Place, located at the River Place Plaza, next to Fratelli's. Check them out on Facebook for weekly updates and specials. Frank's Place, your home away from home.
Here's another Kinder Communications Community Chatter. Marshall University's Institute for Cybersecurity opening registration for CyberCon 2026, an annual 3-day cybersecurity conference, March 25th through 27th at Doubletree by Hilton in Huntington. To register or learn more about the conference, visit marshall.edu/cyber-cybercon. This Kinder Communications Community Chatter brought to you by Ohio Valley Bank, dedicated to giving you the financial answers you deserve. Ohio Valley Bank, member FDIC. Kinder Communications is proud to welcome WSAZ to our family of stations. When you listen to your favorite Kindred station, you'll hear the trusted voices from WSAZ you know, with the WSAZ First Alert forecast and the latest news. WSAZ and Kinder Communications, working together for the Tri-State.
Hi, this is Dave Wilson, host of Metro News Talk Line, and you're listening to The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
We continue on with this Tuesday edition of Your Drive. Our text line 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. Text line says, Paul, still hoping we get an NIT bid. It helped that Troy State won last night. And you would think since South Alabama got a bid, we should be on the list of potential teams getting picked. I feel you. I'm with you there. South Alabama got hosed last year. If you remember, South Alabama, and it's already accepted its bid. That's the good thing. So it accepts a bid because... And it was named the first team, actually. It's the first team named. It's a prior agreement. NIT Board of Managers and the university made this agreement. This was after the selection process. The Jaguars not included in the NIT field, but there were some requirements. Jaguars had to meet some certain standards to get in. Of course, regular season champions that do not make the NCAA tournament either as an automatic qualifier or as an at-large team automatically get a bid to the NIT if they have an average ranking of 125 or better across 7 metrics that appears on team sheets as part of the process. And so it gets in, it earns its spot. Marshall, I don't know if Marshall would qualify, to be quite candid. And the reason South Alabama gets in, and this was what happened last year. This is what NIT had to release. The NIT said, quote, after the NIT bracket was released, this was last year, after the NIT bracket was released Sunday evening, it was brought to the NIT's attention that one of the teams scheduled to participate in the tournament had also committed to a non-NCAA affiliated postseason event. In an effort to secure another participating team, the NIT prematurely extended an invitation to the South Alabama Jaguars prior to learning that the original team chose to accept its invitation to the NIT. Regrettably, the NIT rescinded its invitation to South Alabama. We understand the emotional impact this confusion created, and we sincerely apologize to South Alabama head coach Richie Riley, and all the student athletes for the era. So they were in and they were out. UC Riverside said, we're coming to the CBI. Well, what? We got an NIT bid? We're not coming to the CBI. Wait a minute. No, we're coming. We're coming to the NIT. No. And South Alabama got hosed. So I don't think that's going to have any bearing on Marshall's bid. I just don't see a bid coming to the NIT. All right, let's get to the text line again, 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. Texter says, Paul, I wonder if more big paycheck games will be in the future to support swim program if mandated to keep. Major impact on whole athletic department, potentially. Appreciate the thoughts. Yeah, got to find the money somewhere. And where's the money coming from? And again, we go back to the statement, and I'm not singling this out to pick on Madison Bowen, but she stated in this statement, which was released, this was released by Bailey and Glasser. Bailey Glasser. This is the firm representing 15 members of the women's swimming and diving team. And Madison Bowen was quoted as saying, we would love if this bill passes, referring to SB 502, which is the Women's Collegiate Sports Protection Act. And she's referring to this by saying, we would love if this bill passes and we could eventually use it to support the team financially long term. But we also know it's up to Marshall to do the right thing, even if it costs them money. End quote. If it costs them money. No one's putting thought into, okay, if the university can make the case why it can't afford this program long term, it can't make the investment to support this program long term, and it is committed to make good the opportunities for women's in sports participation gap, which is pretty big right now, all things being fair, and Marshall is trying to address that by cutting what it felt like was an unsustainable program and then indicating that stunt, which would have greater numbers of student athletes able to participate, and it was a program in which the university could afford and maintain and give greater opportunity. I think they win the case. I don't know. I don't know all the details. I don't know what is going to happen. I am not a lawyer by any stretch of the imagination. I should have been, but I am not a lawyer. So where's the money coming from? That's going to be the big question. If university can say, look, we're going to replace the opportunities. We're going to replace the opportunities. And we're going to make sure that we have closed the gap, to kind of borrow from Coach Huff. Always quotable, Charles Huff. Close the gap in the participation numbers. Unfortunately, I don't think those questions have been truly addressed. Where's this money coming from? It almost sounds like, and I could be wrong, it almost sounds like we're mad. We're mad that our programs got cut, and so we're going to go after the university, and we don't care what it costs the university. We want our program back. And so there's going to be a lot of saber rattling. There's going to be a lot of bluster and noise brought out here. But if the university can make the case that, look, we're not shortchanging women, we're just eliminating a program that we can't sustain, and we're going to replace that with programs we can sustain. And there's not a financial out of this. This is not one we can just throw money out and financially sustain, because the facilities are are not Division I level, whatever that means in this day and age, and the resources it's going to take and to maintain, we can manage better elsewhere in sports that we can already maintain and manage. And I see the argument here at the same time. It's my sport versus you. Why us? Why are we getting cut? Why is it our program is getting cut? And to be fair about this, and please, don't take my word for it. Go back, listen to the episode we had with Gerald Harrison. He laid it out. He laid it all out, and I don't have a dog in this fight. But he laid it all out about why they did certain things. Because remember, why did you make the announcement when you did? Why did you speak to the student athletes days before conference? And Gerald said, look, that was under advisement of the coach. That was his advisement. And that's kind of omitted here in this release. This release is not made to make Marshall look good. Marshall's basically said, we've got it, we understand, we're going to reiterate why we did what we did publicly that we've already talked about. We'll address this in court. Texter says, Paul, it's always sad when the courts get involved in college sports, and it generally just creates turmoil. Watching the athletic roundtable with President Trump, women's sports are being axed nationwide for economy. It was reported that Penn State lost over $500 million last year. I suspect lawsuits will become commonplace. I appreciate the thoughts. Thank you. Absolutely, it's going to become commonplace. And I don't think anyone's arguing against opportunities for women in sports. The unfortunate reality is that it's getting expensive to run sports. So what do you do? What do you do? You're trying to make financial decisions that will help the longevity of the programs you do have. And you look at where there could be savings and if you can transfer that over and maintain it better into a different program. And the answer to Marshall University's in-house review was we can. We can let this program go and we can create other opportunities for women to participate in sport, and we can close the gap in Title IX. So is this court case about Title IX violations? Is this court case about our program got cut, and so we're fighting to get it back? And if Marshall can answer, no, it's not about Title IX discrimination. It's about we can do a better job offering more opportunities by cutting this program and adding more programs, and I think Marshall wins. But again, I'm not a legal expert. I'm not a lawyer until the case plays out. I'm just spitballing here. I do not profess any expertise in this realm. 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. This is The Drive, ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
At Poca Valley Bank, a handshake can still mean the start of a great relationship. We've been greeting customers with a handshake since 1908. Why settle for less? If you're purchasing your first home or planning for your future, Poca Valley Bank is here to support you with personalized service and local expertise. They are your trusted advisors. Why settle for less when you can experience banking with a team that truly cares? Poca Valley Bank, where relationships matter. Visit PocaValleyBank.com. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Stuck in a state of falling behind, struggling to keep up with kids, finances, insurance, and life? Well, let your State Farm agent help you simplify and get to a better state. With State Farm handling your auto, home, and life insurance, you'll have more time to handle everything else. More money, too. Adding State Farm policies can earn discounts that could add up to 40%. Help you get ahead. Call an agent today and get to a better state with State Farm. In Huntington, Ray Crabtree, 304-736-8181. In Milton, Russ McRae, 304-743-9318. And in Lavallette, Jason Elkins, 304-529-7555.
Kinder Communications is proud to welcome WSAZ to our family of stations. When you listen to your favorite Kindred station, you'll hear the trusted voices from WSAZ you know, with the WSAZ First Alert forecast and the latest news. WSAZ and Kindred Communications, working together for the Tri-State.
No matter where you are in life, Mount West Community and Technical College isn't just about an education. It's a step toward your future. We provide the hands-on support you need with classes that fit your life. At Mount West, we know you by name because here, you're more than just a number. Mount West Community and Technical College, because you matter here. Visit mctc.edu to apply today.
You're listening to The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
We continue on with this edition of Your Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. I'm your host, Paul Swann. The text line 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. We've got comments in just a moment from Marshall defensive coordinator Brad Lambert. Also, we're going to hear from offensive coordinator Rod Smith, and if we've got time, special teams coordinator Jackson White, as today was the media availability at Marshall University for football as spring continues. Of course, we've been discussing the Title IX lawsuit, which was filed against Marshall University. There are 15 members of the women's swimming and diving team that are being represented in this case. And, of course, we're getting your thoughts on it right now. A lot of people are leaning towards Marshall University. They believe in the athletic department. They believe in President Smith, and they believe that Marshall's made the case to discontinue swimming and diving for the betterment of the university, the athletic department overall. Now, that might not be your view. So if your voice is not being heard, and if you don't know, let me re-educate everyone. I make sure everybody's voice is heard when it comes to issues like this. So if your voice isn't being heard, it's because you're not speaking up. So I'll give you the text line one more time. 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. Texter says, Paul, the P2 plus whoever can support their financial landscape need to break off sooner rather than. Current model is not sustainable for most in college athletics. Rather be in a division of like-minded schools versus trying to keep up monetarily. Appreciate the text. So what you're saying is Marshall University needs to be in a division, in a grouping of like-minded universities, like-minded in financial expenditures and mission, and eventually you're probably going to see the power programs, or at least the bigger conferences, break off. And I don't know if that's going to have anything to do with Title IX, though, but it would obviously have to still be honored. Title IX is going to follow. Doesn't matter what super conference you have. And, of course, I don't believe Marshall, and again, I'm not there, but I don't believe Marshall is discriminating against women. I think Marshall is trying to reorganize its house, and sometimes that doesn't go well with everyone that's been in the house. So we'll get your thoughts on that. Again, 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. And again, if you're on the other side of this argument, you feel like, hey, the women aren't getting a fair shake, we're not being heard, whatever the argument may be, you've got the opportunity, you've got the platform, and I give you the floor. Let's move on to football and hear from defensive coordinator Brad Lambert as he speaks with the media earlier today. including setting the stage for his return to Marshall University.
Yeah, just really good to be back and excited about being back. Every time I've been at Marshall, man, the experience has always been so positive. You know, early 90s with Coach Donnan, we won a lot of games and had a lot of fun, and this place was on fire. Then, 19 and 20, we played extremely well and went to a couple of bowl games, had a chance to win the conference title. So every experience I've had has been positive here. And so when Coach Gibson and I talked and he decided to offer me the job, it was the easy decision for Ange and I and our family to come back here. Obviously, she went to school here and she's from West Virginia. So it's just exciting to be back. And, now we're around the guys. We're excited about the guys really liking to play, and they're playing hard, and just a good group of guys on defense.
Can I ask you just impressions of Coach Gibson and the job he's done so far? And, like you said, it kind of led into you coming back.
Yeah, well, I've been around Coach a long. Like, I've never worked with him, but I've competed against him. So I know one thing for sure before I ever came back, that we're going to have a tough football team, because when you played against Coach Gibson, when I was at Wake and he's at NC State, I used to tell our defensive guys all the time at Wake, like, we're going to have to play well because they're not going to let our guys score many points. And they've always been a tough group that he's been around. And now that we're here, and that's exactly what I see every day. Like, it's accountability and it's toughness, and hey, you got to show up and work every day, and you got to do the right things. And we have good people. He's brought good people around him, and so it's fun coming to work every day for sure.
Does that kind of blend well into your identity as a coach and what you try to do?
Yeah, no question. Like, he wants them running to the ball just like we do. And when you work for a defensive guy, hey, look, we got to chase the ball and tackle it. And there's always going to be some bad things happen in a game, but on the whole, like, we got to chase the ball and make them think we're playing with 12 instead of 11, and that's Coach's philosophy. And all those important areas, red zone coming out, all those situations that Coach is working now, those are all critical pieces of every game. And so, just been a lot of fun to watch him, operate this team for sure.
What have you seen just early goings of practice? I know there's not a whole lot that you can do with it, but at the same time, I'm sure you get some good.
Yeah, I'm just really pleased with our corners right now. We took some transfers, which is a need area for us. Those guys have come along, doing some good things. Eddie and Charles, all those guys are doing a nice job back there. And then up front, I'm really excited about that. Those guys have had a tough situation, with Coach Street leaving, 4 or 5 days right before practice. They kind of had gotten ingrained in what we're going to do. Well, then Coach Leonard comes in, so really had to catch him up. And those guys up front have done a really good job of acclimating him to our system, him getting involved and doing all those things. And those guys up front, and I'm excited about them, because they like to play, and that's our philosophy. We want our guys up front to make plays. Been that way forever, and so that's just what we want. I think they're excited about it, and we want to create some havoc up front with our guys, and they're doing a good job so far.
You bring some pieces back, but obviously you bring some in as well. Just your experience, just what is it like in that kind of gelling period, and how important are these days?
I think the most important piece was January, February, where you really gel the team together. Coach Hood's come back, brought a couple of good things. We were at Kentucky last year together. He and I coached together a long time. So a lot of things that he was doing at Kentucky and his role there, he brought with him. Coaches bought into it. So gelling the team together and the guys getting to know each other is a real critical piece. And now with the rules the way they are, you can do walkthroughs, you can have meetings, things like that. It allows you to catch up with new guys. And our new guys have been good. So we're excited about those guys coming in. We knew a lot of them coming in. A couple guys from Kentucky, a couple guys from Wake. People know people. And so I think that's a real critical piece when you bring in transfers there.
So maybe one more just in terms of getting the kind of read on how things are going. Just what's that process like in the spring? Obviously, you start out not with pads and everything, but just what are you looking forward to this time of year?
Well, really what we're looking for is, hey, you got to get knowledge of the system, right? So you got to put the time in. The guys got to learn it. It's a new system for them, so they got to put that piece in. But the main thing for us is, A, we get to know each other, and B, we just fly around and play fast, right? They're going to make some mistakes because it's all new. And so you understand that, but the guys are really buying in and flying around. And I think that's the real key for us, is how hard we play down after down, and understand that really the only easy day was yesterday, and we get today to get a little bit better.
Comments from Marshall defensive coordinator Brad Lambert. Also, chance to hear from offensive coordinator Rod Smith, and he starts off, of course, again talking about the season ahead as he spoke with the media earlier today as well.
Good to be back, obviously. Good to be back out here, and weather's been cooperating, so that's been good. It's like most typical springs, it's good and bad. Started off the first couple of days I thought was really good. Last 2 days have kind of been up and down at times, probably because we're putting new install and the defense is putting new install, so it's good. It's been back and forth like that. So, but we just got to continue to working and get more consistent in everything we do.
How much maybe easier has the install and all that stuff been this year, considering whether it be just the numbers or anything else, what you bring back?
It's a lot easier because of so many people coming back, and then plus the ability to do the OTAs in the off season to kind of go over stuff with them. So that's been a huge plus. So guys know where they're going, they know the expectations. So it's been a lot smoother from that standpoint. Young guys are still catching up, so that's where a lot of the hiccups are right now.
How exciting is it to have so much, production and the weapons that you have back this year, whether it be Carlos, Kobe, Adrian, all of it?
Excited. I like it better than the alternative, right? So it's good to get those guys back, and then we're counting those guys for some senior leadership as well.
I know you guys don't like to single guys out or anything, but just anybody kind of sticking out a little bit in terms of their development or anything else from year over year for you so far?
Well, I mean, obviously Toby's always looked pretty good. He's been steady Eddie. ADs look good, look really good so far. So excited about them. DDs look good. So it's been a good group so far, and I'm excited to watch where our offensive line go too. We got a lot of guys coming back there as well. So excited to watch that develop.
If you look at the running backs, obviously you bring some guys in and everything. You speak to that a little bit, just how the gel is going early, but also you bring some guys back that are good too, right?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we got some guys coming back that'll help. We got some new guys like TJ Lester is in and doing a really good job. Judah Price, we get a chance to really kind of throw him in and let him work, and he's been working with some ones and twos, and so it's good to see those guys. Quinn as well, and then we've moved a couple other guys back there as well just to kind of get some touches. We're taking a look at Tony Martin as well, just to find ways to let these guys touch and maybe kind of continue to upgrade that position if we need to, or how do we get more athletes touching the ball.
In your experience over the years, bringing Carlos back, just how much kind of benefit is it to have that, lockdown fit, for instance, I guess, to have him as a leader there and all that, right?
Well, it's always good to bring your quarterback or quarterbacks, in this case, back. So I'm excited that Carlos and Zion are both back, both experienced, both have playing experience, both did some really good stuff, and they're both playing pretty well. And you had a guy like Khalil Wilkins transferred in from West Virginia, so he's been really good so far. So I like our quarterback room. I like it a lot. Coy Fagan and Dylan Barber are there as well, getting some reps. So we got 5 guys right now we're repping.
How cool is it? You mentioned Coy and Judah, like those local guys coming in and competing and doing the thing, just how they progressed over.
Yeah, it's good because, it's obviously a different level for them, and it's an adjustment period, but they're doing good. They're working hard at it, and I'm pleased with them so far. I really like their progress.
Last one for you, just the O-line, you mentioned it a little bit, just progression of that room. You bring guys like Slappy back and all that's always good and everything.
Yeah, I'm excited about our O-line room, and I'm going to hold them to a little, like the quarterbacks, I'm going to hold them to a little higher standard than the rest because I think they can be really good with the guys that we have got, bring them back, and Slappy, and of course Tyreek and, Dudley coming back a little bit. And then when you have guys like Robbie Martin and Xavier Bosley. Anyway, we got a good group, and can't wait to watch those guys continue to get better. They're going to be, I think we'll be more athletic this year. And, when having that experience, I think helps, particularly second year in this system.
And that's offensive coordinator Rod Smith. Chance to speak with the media earlier today at Marshall as spring preparations continue. We will get more of your texts coming up. 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. More of you want to weigh in on the Title IX lawsuit, which has been filed against Marshall University after the university cut the women's swimming and diving team. We'll get those reactions when we continue on this edition of Your Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Metro Community Federal Credit Union now brings you all the tech that big banks have, but still has that personal touch of a member-owned community credit union. Apple Pay? Got it. Digital wallet? Yep. Message pay by text, online loan payments, even chatting with a real person, not a bot. Open accounts, sign documents, and manage your money all online. It's the big bank tech you need from the local community-minded credit union you trust. Metro Community FCU. Visit metrocommunityfcu.com today.
Looking for midweek fun? Head to Frank's Place, where every night's a party. Wednesdays are full of brains and brews with trivia night. Grab your crew and show off what you know. Thursdays, crank it up with Singo Bingo. Music meets bingo for prizes and laughs. Then Fridays, we hand you the mic for karaoke night. Sing your heart out and start your weekend right. The fun never stops at Frank's Place. Great drinks, great friends, and good times. Frank's Place, located at the River Place Plaza, next to Fratelli's. Check them out on Facebook for weekly updates and specials. Frank's Place, your home away from home.
Cold weather's on its way, and what do you want on those cold, chilly evenings? A warm blanket and a hot cup of cocoa. Well, you know who else wants the same comfort? Mice. Messy, uninvited guests. They sneak in and leave droppings, chew through your food and packages. Don't let mice take over your home this fall and winter. Call K&B Pest Control. We will kill for your business. Call today, 304-523-4281.
Our Kindred Communications family of stations reminds you of the need for blood donations to the Red Cross. Blood is always needed. It may save your life or the life of a loved one. This reminder is brought to you in part by
Ichiban Chinese and Japanese Restaurant, 204 3rd Street in Point Pleasant, West Virginia. Patriot Rentals and Supply. Build better, rent smarter, where the tools for success are right at your fingertips. In Patriot, Ohio.
Imagine being denied an apartment because of your religion, or your race, or because you have children, or a disability.
It's so wrong.
Yes, but who has the power to stop this?
You do. Each of us has the power. The law is on your side. It's illegal for landlords to discriminate because of race, color, religion, sex, national origin, disability, or familial status. If you suspect that you have experienced housing discrimination, file a complaint with HUD immediately so we can investigate it. Fair housing is your right.
Use it.
To learn more, visit hud.gov/fairhousing. That's hud.gov/fairhousing. Or call 1-800-669-9777. 1-800-669-9777. A public service message from HUD in partnership with the National Fair Housing Alliance.
This is The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Follow at Paul Swann on X for Marshall sports updates and more.
Final segment for today's edition of Your Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. I'm your host, Paul Swann. Our text line is open, 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. Brought to you by Clark's Pump and Shop. Let's get right back into it. We've been talking a little bit about the Title IX lawsuit, which has been filed against Marshall University after the school cut swimming and diving. The women's program told a few days before the conference championships. And, of course, Gerald Harrison came on the program and outlined what it meant, why it happened, and gave the entire layout as far as how they came to this decision, what was going to cost, why they're going to try to they're going to do other things to make sure that they're honoring Title IX and creating opportunities for women in sports. But at the same time, the swimming and diving program is going to be a casualty of this. And so a lawsuit has been filed, and the court has been asked to issue a temporary restraining order and a preliminary injunction to prevent Marshall from eliminating any women's team, including the swimming and diving team. Which I can see why they're doing that. You know, you don't want to make this just women's swimming and diving. You want to make sure that you are basically saying, hey, look, including women in swimming and diving, we want to make sure that nothing's getting cut. And we go to the text line. Texter says, Paul, this has been happening all over the country with schools having to cut some of their Olympic and other sports due to the NIL and portal being out of control. This was actually discussed in a roundtable meeting last week at the White House with the president, Nick Saban, and others involved on how to fix it. Appreciate the text. I do remember the roundtable. Also from the text line, texter says, Paul, colleges at D1 are using women's stunt to backstop the rising cost of college football while still maintaining women's numbers required by Title IX. It's a way to shift nearly $500,000 over to football versus the $809,000 swimming budget versus a $340,000 stunt budget. I'm not upset over this. I think that's what the texture's saying. I'm not upset over this. So basically, what is happening here is, and again, university says, look, we're unable to support this program and the rising cost of this program. And so we're going to cut this program and we're going to create opportunities elsewhere. They're going to be easier to manage. They're going to be easier to afford. And we're not going to have the expenses compared to the rising costs of swimming and diving. It's not a revenue sport. Most of these sports are not revenue sports. And so this is what Marshall University is doing, cutting the program, outlining its case. And again, I don't have a dog in this fight. It might sound like I'm pro-Marshall or I'm anti-swimming and diving or I'm pro-swimming and diving and anti-Marshall. I'm neither. But I think it just needs to be laid out responsibly that the affordability of swimming and diving came into question. It was laid out. And so the university made its decision. And now you have 15, at least in this lawsuit, 15 in this complaint that the university is discriminating against women concerning athletic participation and opportunities. And I don't know if that holds up when you lay it out and you come to the conclusion that we can't afford this, but we can afford this, and it gives us more opportunity to give women opportunities. It gives us an opportunity to create more opportunities. My logic could be faulty, but I feel like if it's about women's opportunities, then the university is trying to close the gap. If it's about women's opportunities in swimming and diving, then I don't know if this stands. If it's just about, hey, our sport got cut, well, and so we're complaining about Title IX. Marshall University and its representatives come out and say, look, we understand that. We have to cut it financially, but we're going to make up the lost numbers and then some to close the perceived gap or the gap. And we're going to offer these programs, which we can sustain and save budget-wise, because we've got to make sure that the thing that's making money and supporting these other programs is viable. Again, not a lawyer, not a legal expert. Open to more points of view on this and more discussion, and we'll do so tomorrow here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and we'll do it again tomorrow, back in 23 hours for The Drive.
WRBC Huntington, W227BS Huntington, your flagship home of the Marshall Thundering Herd and The Drive with Paul Swann, ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.